At the point of recording this video, the 3rd of May 2020, Activision, in what can only be described as a total disregard for the community, have not released duos for Warzone. It's been rumoured by data miners to have already been in the works, and there was even a case of Activision accidentally advertising the mode on the Call of Duty website. People are crying out for this mode through posts across platforms from Reddit to Twitter to YouTube, but unfortunately, we just don't know when it's coming, and no amount of rumours will change that. The only option available to those of you who want to play with just one other person is to make the most of what you've got. This means hopping into trios with either squad fill on or just accepting that you're at a disadvantage whether you like it or not. We don't all have 2 or 3 mates to hop on with, and some of us just prefer playing with smaller numbers of people. That's why I've decided to make this video, to help players who are playing the game at a disadvantage because there's no other choice available. I've been grinding out a lot of duos trios games recently, and I've had plenty of success. It is absolutely possible to drop high kill games and win trios mode as a duo. You've just got to adjust your playstyle and approach the game in a different way. I'm absolutely not advocating sitting in a corner for the whole match and hoping you get a lucky final ring. If you enjoy that playstyle, good for you, but most people don't. So in this video, I'll be covering the tips, tricks, and playstyle advice that I think is essential for duos players trying to win in Warzone trios. Please bear in mind though that these are just my personal opinions, and feel free to disagree with me. First up is positioning. Positioning is key in any Warzone mode. It doesn't make a difference which one. The simple rule of thumb is that if you have the best position, you should win. Simple as. High ground is crucial, as it's a lot easier to shoot off a rooftop than it is to shoot someone off of one. This has never been more true than for duos players in trios. Given that you're at a numbers disadvantage at all times, you want to make sure that you maximise both your offensive and defensive capabilities. From a defensive perspective, good cover makes you harder to hit. A nice head glitch in a window or on a rooftop lets you take your shots in relative safety. If you're out in the open on a road, you're going to be very easy to light up and take down. From an offensive perspective, good positioning lets you get the most out of the weapons you've got to hand. You want to be doing as much damage as possible in as short a time as possible. You need every advantage you can get in this regard, and a good position will allow you to do this. Now the variety of the map means that there's a lot of examples of good positioning, all of which can be affected by different rings, but I'll try to provide some general guidance. Windows on upper floors provide decent cover if you need to challenge someone in general. High rooftops are great for sniping and planning your next move. Positioning can be as simple as holding next to a small wall in a later ring. What it comes down to is the simple fact that cover is better than no cover. You'll learn where it's best and where to avoid in different specific areas through playing. The key thing is to always be thinking about it. Don't go brain dead and stay out in the open, as you can be sure someone else will make you regret it. Number 2 is a big one, and I cannot stress how important this is. Play the ring. I'm aware that this is not immediately obvious as to what it means, so I'll unpack it as it can actually encompass quite a lot. If you're early game, I would seriously encourage you to land off the beaten track. Don't bother picking a highly populated area unless you're seriously confident in your skills. You're going in at a disadvantage, so it's unlikely to end well for you if you land somewhere full of trios teams. You'll just get battered and end up back in the loading screen before you know it. Instead, pick somewhere out of the way, not somewhere without any life, but somewhere with generally less players. A team or 2 is fine. It might be stressful for you, but you won't be as hampered as you will be landing in a very dense area. You want to give yourself a fighting chance, and scrapping it out over meagre resources with bigger teams than yourself is not the best way of doing this. Next is to consider giving recons a go. They'll let you see where the next ring is, and the great bit about this is that it lets you plan your moves early. It gives you a head start on the direction the game is going in, and you should be able to exploit this. Instead of reacting to the ring as the majority of teams will do, you'll be one step ahead of the game. The sooner you can get a recon done, the more of an advantage it will give you. You'll have the time to rotate early, getting yourself into a good position ahead of most other teams. If you can even get 2 done, then the advantage just gets bigger. I will say though, that they're not worth risking late game. They're a shining beacon revealing your location to all. Early game this isn't a problem, as players are spread out and most have more important things to worry about. Late game though, the density of players will increase and it's generally not worth the risk. This ties in very nicely though to the next part of this tip, and that is exploiting the ring as cover. Regardless of whether or not you have a gas mask, no player can stay out in the ring for longer than a few seconds. You can use this to your advantage as a duo. If you move with the ring, you have a sweeping field which will force players out of its way. If you're ready for them, you can take them out while they're being forced to move. Plus, the ring can provide its own form of cover if needs be. In this clip on screen, you can see me and my partner Insanity holding a rooftop in final ring. Now this might look pointless and risky, but it's for a very good reason. It's the highest rooftop in this ring, and it's only got 2 access points. In this scenario, we're literally in the best position on the map. We control the highest ground, giving us the best offensive position. We've got all entrances covered, making it also a very well defended spot. It enables us to move with the ring, as we can easily move across the rooftop if we need to. There is simply no point in us moving or getting aggressive, as we hold the strategically best point in the zone. Here, we've played the ring to the best of the expression. The other teams have to fight it out on the ground, or come at us from ladders and get lit up by me and my teammate. As you can see, this actually netted us the win. Obviously, this sort of playstyle does not work in every ring. You'll have to adapt as you go, but bear in mind that you can exploit the ring to your advantage if you play smart and calculated. The next section I want to discuss is to stay coordinated. Whether you're going for kills or for the win, this is crucial. I'm not going to bore you by saying use Discord or in-game chat, as that would just drag this video out, and you already know about it. What I'm talking about is moving together as a team and working as a unit. Think about it this way. It's almost impossible to survive 2 players targeting you at the same time. It makes getting to cover way harder, and the time to kill can literally cut in half. This ties in very well to another point, so I'll merge the two together. Coordinate your shots. Assuming you come up against a team of 3, you have to drop a player first just to make it an even playing field. This is obviously easiest to do when you're both shooting at the same person. Dropping a player will change it from a 3v2 to a 2v2, so your odds massively go up. Coordination goes beyond shooting at the same person though. You should be moving together and relying on one another. If you start shooting first whilst your teammate is out of cover and he gets downed, then the game just gets much harder for you. Ideally, you want to be waiting for each other to be in at least a safe, preferably advantageous position before you do anything risky. You simply cannot afford to lose the other player most of the time. Sure, if you have the perfect shot lined up, then take it, as it's not a bad thing. You just have to make sure your teammate knows what is happening so he can react to the situation alongside you. By the same token, if you get shot at, you want to always be in a position where you can help each other out. Stay close together so you can cover one another, and make use of callouts and the spotting feature in game. Now this portion of the video is going to tackle with offensive and defensive play. Warzone is all about reading the scenario you're in and reacting to it. Say you're being pushed hard by a team that outnumbers and is outplaying you. If you think there's a small chance you might win, don't risk it. Leave and live to fight another day. If you see a team in the distance that you don't need to fight, but you might be able to get an easy kill out of one of them, don't bother. You're much better off playing smart and fighting the fights you know you can win. If you want to go for kills, get yourself in a good position that lets you do this. Lots of kills and fighting everyone in sight are not the same thing. Crucially though, if you have an advantage, push it. If you down a player of a trio, you have an advantage. Chances are they'll be going for a revive and you should push this. Hanging back for too long means they get to level the playing field and you're back at a disadvantage. It's just as bad not to push an advantage as it is to engage enemies you have no chance at killing. As a duo, you want to make the most out of whatever edges that you can, and this is one of them. If an enemy is reviving someone, that's one player you have left to worry about. Obviously, self-revives play a factor, but unfortunately you can't know everything. Put simply, you should push when you can and when you have the best chance of winning, and run when you're unlikely to win. At this point in the video, I want to fire off some quick tips that I think are worthy of mention, but aren't diverse enough to devote entire sections to. So here we go. 1. Carry a range of weapons with you. Between you want to be able to challenge anyone at any range. If you see a team coming towards you, picking up a member or burning their plates can be a nice little advantage. By the same token, having one of you with a shotgun at close range can be a godsend in hectic scenarios. Me and my teammate always run assault rifles, marksman rifles, and an SMG between us. It means we're equipped to deal with players at any distance, with a nice bit of overlap in between. 2. Finishing people is a dick move, but you need to do it. The last thing you want is an enemy player going down, then getting right back up again and doing all your hard work. You'll have lost any element of surprise that in turn makes everything more difficult. Obviously don't go for a risky finisher, but if you can finish them, don't worry about what the honourable thing to do was, as they sure as hell won't be. 3. Ghost is essential. Any team with a UAV that realises you're a Joe will most likely go for you, as you're a comparatively easy target. You have got to stay off the map. It will let you have as much of a surprise advantage as you possibly can, and that's crucial when you're outnumbered. 4. Closely linked to the previous one is run suppressors. Again, staying off the map is essential, as you're a lot less intimidating when the enemies you're attacking realise they outnumber you. 5. And this is more of a personal one, but use airstrikes. I'll be bringing out a more in-depth video on this in the future, but using airstrikes will let you force enemies off rooftops. At the very least, they'll offer you a decent bit of cover if you need to make a quick, risky movement. You should make the most of them, as they can offer you a nice advantage in some scenarios. 6. Self-revives are not essential. Realistically, the amount of scenarios in which you can use a self-res are very limited. Unless you die at range, behind cover, they're pointless. You're better off spending that money on a UAV or cluster strike, as they're guaranteed to be useful, or at least more likely to be useful than a self-revive. 7. Make use of tactical grenades. They'll sudden disorient your enemies, which can make the world of difference in a 2 versus 3. Plus, most players simply don't expect them to come hurtling their way. 8. Buy stations and load on drops are essential, but dangerous. Make sure you scope out the surrounding area before you use them. Clear buildings and make sure you're alone. Getting dropped by a full team generally only ends one way for you. 9. Make use of vehicles. You're going to run into people anyway, so it's best not to have it happen out in the open. Use vehicles to make wide rotations and get you to cover quicker. They can also provide handy escape routes in a pinch as well. It sucks that Activision simply won't implement actual duos into Warzone, for no discernible reason. They've got the funds to do it, and that's not a question. Maybe they're trying to extend the life of the game artificially, or maybe they just can't implement it properly for coding reasons. We've all seen recently with the Recalled Most Wanted contract pack that they lack the ability to properly update this game. In a way, it's a shame there's a need for videos like this, but people will continue to play duos, trios, and if that's you, then I hope this video has helped you out. One day we'll get a fair playing field, I'm sure, but no one really knows when that's going to be.